There once was a boy who had a great destiny. No, not him. Him. Tom Morello Riddle. The boy who swore he would one day be the most powerful wizard of all time. The boy who would one day be known as Voldemort. The boy who amassed a great amount of faithful followers. The boy who took it upon himself to eliminate all of his enemies. Until he was inexplicably defeated by the boy who lived. Greetings fanboys and fangirls, I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and welcome to one of my most requested honest reviews of all time, which just so happens to be the most successful film franchise of all. Based on the book series by J.K. Rowling, believe it or not, originally Disney was the studio that wanted to adapt Harry Potter, and originally they wanted to make it into an animated feature directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Haley Joel Osment, an American kid actor, as Harry Potter. Thankfully, Spielberg withdrew after making some douchey statement that there was no challenge in making a hit film out of Harry Potter. At this point, Warner Brothers was the studio that was attached to distribute the film, and Chris Columbus became attached as the director. If you love these films and how they remain so faithful to the book series, this is one of the key individuals that you should be thanking, as he was one of the major parties pushing for the central cast to stay British, and for each book to be adapted into its own individual film. And he was the first to bring on J.K. Rowling as a consultant. Now let's jump into this wizarding world with the plot. Harry Potter's your average kid who sadly lost his parents at a young age and now has to live with his douchey aunt and uncle and their spoiled son until the day that Harry gets an acceptance letter from Hogwarts, a school that teaches witchcraft and wizardry. So in the span of a single afternoon, not only does Harry discover that witches and wizards are real and that he is one of them, but also that he is the chosen one, as he is the only one to ever survive an attack by Voldemort, walking away from the evil lord with nothing more than a small lightning bolt-shaped scar on his forehead. Voldemort vanished after trying to murder Harry, but many believe that one day the Dark Lord will return, and that Harry Potter will be the only one who will be able to defeat him.
Hey, she's only interested in you because she thinks you're the chosen one.
But I am the chosen one.
Cast and characters.
Now before I get into the central cast, it is very important that I mention that this franchise has the absolute greatest supporting cast ever. Robbie Coltrane, Bill Nighy, Jim Broadbent, Emma Thompson, Gary Oldman, David Toulis, the list goes on and on. The two that deserve the most praise here, as they reprise their roles in more films than the rest, are Maggie Smith as Professor Minerva McGonagall and Alan Rickman as Severus Snape. Maggie Smith, one of the most condecorated actors of all time, playing Harry Potter's teacher and often mother figure, was a perfect choice.
But Professor, I thought if you signed it, then I could go.
I can't. Only a parent or a guardian can sign. Since I am neither, it would be inappropriate. I'm sorry, Potter. That's my final word.
Maggie had breast cancer throughout most of the filming of these movies, but thankfully she survived. And if that's not indicative of the iron resolve of this great strong character, I don't know what is. Interesting fact, Alan Rickman was handpicked by J.K. Rowling herself to play Severus Snape, and thankfully, the producers listened to her suggestion. Throughout the production of the films, J.K. Rowling and Alan Rickman often had private conversations about Snape and his motivations, his background, and Rowling even shared secret facts about the character that were going to be revealed in future Harry Potter books. Facts that explain why Snape was the one Hogwarts professor who had a personal dislike of Harry. Having that kind of blessing from the creator of the franchise is simply unprecedented, and Rickman met the challenge with maximum efficiency, playing one of the most complex characters in the series with seamless ease.
Know what it is?
Bubble juice, sir.
Veritaserum. 3 drops of this, and you know who himself would spill his darkest secrets. The use of it on a student is, regrettably, forbidden. However, should you ever steal from my personal stores again, my hand might just slip over your morning pumpkin juice.
I haven't stolen anything.
Don't lie to me.
One of the most enjoyable aspects of these films was watching the young actors grow and evolve in their roles, both as characters and performers. First, we have Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley. He is the loyal, outspoken underachiever who comes from an impoverished but very proud family. Ron is the surrogate character, the one that the audience is intended to relate to. He also facilitates a great deal of the exposition. His arc throughout the series is magnificently uplifting, as he goes from the downtrodden, introverted boy who doesn't believe in himself to a courageous hero who will do anything for his friends. Then we have Emma Watson as Hermione Granger, the brains of the outfit. Hermione is the overly studious exposition machine that seems to have an answer for just about everything.
That is the second time you've spoken out of turn, Miss Granger. Are you incapable of restraining yourself, or do you take pride in being an insufferable know-it-all?
Another element that I love about this series is how the characters changed and developed through the influence they had on each other. While Ron became this great heroic figure, Hermione grew to be more reserved and humble about her talents and knowledge. But more importantly, the boys helped her loosen the hell up and not be such a ridiculously uptight fuddy-duddy.
Harry, what happens if Umbridge does find out? Who cares? I mean, sort of exciting, isn't it? Breaking the rules.
Who are you and what have you done with Hermione Granger?
And last but not least, we have Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter. Fanboys and fangirls, here we have the ultimate hero's journey. Harry literally goes from being an unwanted child that lives in a cupboard under the stairs to being the most admired figure in the wizarding world. One that his peers will blindly follow into battle. The most intriguing and appealing thing about Harry is that very little about him is extraordinary. He's not the most powerful wizard, he's not the smartest, and he's certainly not the most dangerous. In fact, he's a very average boy, all things considered. Throughout most of the series, he comes off as if he doesn't truly believe in the prophecy. He shrugs off his fame, and he genuinely believes that eventually a more powerful wizard will step in and defeat Voldemort for him. And honestly, his point of view makes a lot of sense if you think about it. I mean, try and imagine for a moment that someone came up to you and told you that not only does the devil walk the earth, but that you are the only one that has the power to kill him. Yeah, you'd probably shrug it off too. Harry had a miserable childhood, so he savors and appreciates every little moment of joy, and will fight to retain those friends and that joy to the bitter end, making him a very commendable and relatable heroic figure, as it is easy to live vicariously through Harry's exploits.
That, Ron, is a hippogriff. First thing you want to know about hippogriffs is that they're very proud creatures, very easily offended. You do not want to insult a hippogriff. It may just be the last thing you ever do. Now, who'd like to come and say hello? Well done, Harry. Well done.
Year 1, the Sorcerer's Stone.
The franchise begins with the Chris Columbus era. It was 2001, and Harry Potter mania was in full effect. You couldn't go into a public restroom without seeing ads for the book series or for the upcoming film. And quite frankly, I was not interested. I honestly thought that it was a dumb fad that was going to pass sooner or later. It was my girlfriend that dragged me to watch the first film, and while I didn't hate it, I also didn't love it. For whatever reason, at the time, I wasn't in the mindset to truly appreciate it. I remember someone bought me the film on DVD and it just sat on my shelf for the next few years. I'm not sure why my interest and appreciation for Harry Potter was so delayed, but better late than never. In Harry's first adventure attending the world-renowned School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, our bespectacled hero has very little time to settle into his new world of magic and mystery, or enjoy the company of his new friends. As not only does he find out that Voldemort was not destroyed the night he tried to kill him, but that he has found a way to fully restore himself to full power by using the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone if you're British. An all-powerful life-restoring magical artifact which is being safeguarded at Hogwarts. Yes, an object that is wanted by the most dangerous and powerful dark wizard of them all is being kept at a school filled with children. A lot of people, and I do mean a lot of people, like to poke fun of the fact that the children in these films are always recklessly being put in danger, and that the parents of the children who attend Hogwarts must hate their kids since everything at the school is trying to kill them. The stairs, the candy, the books, and while I do not wish to disprove or challenge all the mockery, I will say that the relentless amount of danger at Hogwarts doesn't bother me in the slightest. Why? Because the wizarding world is really fucking dangerous, that's why. We're talking about a universe filled with trolls and werewolves and dragons and people that can kill you with just a word and a gesture. So yes, Hogwarts needs to be dangerous, so these kids can arm themselves and be ready for the horrors of the wizarding world. This was a good intro to the series, as we explore multiple facets of Harry's world, all the while embarking on a fantastic action-adventure mystery which sees our young heroes defy all odds as they try to stop the return of the most vile wizard of them all.
Now, if you two don't mind, I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed, or worse, expelled.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
Year 2, the Chamber of Secrets.
The Columbus era comes to its end with the second installment in the series. At the time, I was still not a fan of Harry Potter, and I was visiting my family for Christmas. My cousin was already a hardcore fan and forced me to go to see the second film with him. And boy am I glad he did, cause this is my favorite Harry Potter film. Shortly after seeing it, I started reading the books and I've been a loyal fan ever since. On his second year, Harry finds out that someone at Hogwarts has opened the Chamber of Secrets, an underground enclosure that houses the most frightful of beasts, the Basilisk, a giant killer serpent that is being used to kill anyone who is not a pure-blood wizard.
What's a mudblood?
It means dirty blood. Mudblood's a really foul name for someone who's muggle-born, someone with non-magic parents, someone like me.
I love this movie, as Harry begins to take a far more active role in fighting the forces of evil. He only has 2 friends on the entire planet, and he will defend them at all costs. Also, this is the first film in which Harry's rival, Malfoy, played by Tom Felton, really starts to shine. This kid is always acting, even if he's just in the background of a shot. He's always Malfoy, and he's always up to no good. While I wish that the Columbus era would have extended for at least one more film, this was a great movie for Chris Columbus to finish his tenure as the director of the Harry Potter series, as he turned up the epic dial from 9 to 11.
One's at the ready.
Scared, Potter.
You wish.
Year 3, the Prisoner of Azkaban.
After Chris Columbus left the franchise, Alfonso Cuarón took the helm, and the difference in look and style was stark. In the book series, things don't start to go dark and sinister until the 4th book. Here, things get dark straight away in the 3rd film. Gone was the fun and whimsy and the golden glow of the Columbus era, and straight away, this is when the movies start to have that glossy, silvery gray look to them. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not my intent to insult Alfonso Cuarón's work on this film. I just wish Columbus would have directed this one as well, since the tone of the book matched the style of his first 2 Potter films a lot better. Right out of the gate, we get our first big recast in the series, as in the first 2 films, the headmaster of Hogwarts, Professor Albus Dumbledore, was played by Richard Harris. Unfortunately, Mr. Harris passed away after the 2nd film, and was replaced by Michael Gambon. So, which one do I prefer? Well, while I mean no disrespect to Mr. Harris, who is one of the greatest actors to ever live, Michael Gambon was just better suited for this part. The books describe Dumbledore as being this very lovable guy who just so happens to be one of the most powerful wizards in the wizarding world, and who commands a great deal of authority. While I cannot dispute that Richard Harris had the lovable part down, I never felt like he commanded much authority, as he came off very soft-spoken and feeble in his portrayal. Michael Gambon, on the other hand, would go from a silly, quirky old guy to a badass general at the drop of a hat. When he walked in a room, you almost wanted to stand in attention. You believed in him. You felt reassured and comforted by his words and frightened by his threats. It was a complicated balancing act, but Mr. Gambon pulled it off with masterful skill.
You seem to be laboring under the delusion that I'm going to What was the phrase? Come quietly. Well, I can tell you this. I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
Enough of this. Take him!
You may not like him, Minister, but you can't deny Dumbledore's got style.
On his third year, Harry finds out that a very dangerous criminal has escaped from Azkaban prison, Sirius Black, played by Gary Oldman. Now, how does this affect Harry? Well, apparently Sirius was the man who gave away the secret location of where the Potters were hiding to Voldemort, and is very much partially responsible for their deaths. Now that he has escaped Azkaban, many feel that he wants to hunt down Harry and kill him so he can finish his master's killing spree. Most of this film is excellent, bringing the book to life almost as efficiently as the first two films. There is only one scene that I don't like, and that is the exposition scene inside the Shrieking Shack. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is the big reveal moment of the story. This is when they explain what is really going on and the real reason why Sirius Black escaped Azkaban. In the book, this scene is approximately 4 chapters long. In the movie, it is about 3 minutes. And it moves at such a fast and hectic pace that it's almost impossible to understand it, with the characters running around the room and shouting the exposition at one another. It's jarring and confusing. I had to rewatch this twice to make sure that all the key dialogue from the book was actually said. This is one of the worst exposition scenes I have ever seen. Outside of that, the rest of the movie is pretty good. A lot darker, but pretty good.
Harry, what happened?
He was their friend. And he betrayed them. He was their friend! I hope he finds me. Because when he does, I'm gonna be ready. When he does, I'm gonna kill him.
Year 4, the Goblet of Fire.
The helm is once again passed on, this time to Mike Newell, who put his own stamp on the series, but the transition from one style to the other wasn't quite as pronounced as when Alfonso Cuarón took over for Chris Columbus. Hey, wait a minute, that handsome guy looks kinda familiar. Huh, the casting in this film just improved by 38%. Anyway, in Harry's 4th year, Hogwarts hosts the Triwizard Tournament, a dangerous contest which pits 3 young wizards from the top 3 wizarding schools against each other. Initially, Harry is too young to compete, but someone anonymously enters Harry into the competition using very powerful magic, which means that Harry has to compete as the magical contract is binding. It is obvious that this is all part of a plot to capture or assassinate Harry. But our hero goes along with the ruse, in hopes of uncovering the mystery and catching the culprit. Now, this film is based on my favorite of the books, but in spite of this, Chamber of Secrets is still my favorite movie. Why? Personally, I felt that Chamber translated better into a movie. The escalation is magnificent, from the cool murder mystery to the battle with the giant snake. Goblet, on the other hand, is one of those instances where I have to agree with the hardcore Potterheads. The book is just better. And I'm not trying to undersell the film, because it is great. Mike Newell did a spectacular job, but the book is one of the longest in the series. The Triwizard Tournament and the mystery are very involved, and the film left out a lot of details. With that said, they did a spectacular job of condensing this very hefty book into one film, and the one scene they expanded upon, which is when Harry fights the dragon, was one of the absolute greatest scenes in the entire franchise. One of the major reasons why Goblet of Fire is my favorite book is because this is the moment in the series where shit gets real, as Voldemort officially returns. This was a moment that garnered a great deal of expectations, and I'm happy to report that the first official appearance of Voldemort in the film franchise met my expectations and then some. Ralph Fiennes was an excellent choice to play this character. We waited 3 whole movies to see him, and boy did he deliver. To have nearly every character in the franchise build you up and to be able to live up to that hype is a skill that most actors can only dream of.
Things have changed. I can touch you now.
Year 5, the Order of the Phoenix.
And thus we enter the Yates era. Initially, David Yates didn't intend to direct the final 4 films in the franchise, but the production team had gotten into a really good rhythm producing the films, in which one film was already in pre-production while the previous one was being filmed. So it was easy for David Yates to move from one film to the other. This had its pros and cons. On one hand, the final 4 films are far more uniform than the first 4, but at the same time, this is when the films start to blur together, a major complaint that I always get from casual viewers, for which I have no objection. This time around, we are introduced to my favorite character in the entire franchise, Luna Lovegood, played by Evanna Lynch. Luna is a very peculiar and somewhat spacey young girl, who is as unique as she is honest.
Come, Daddy. Harry doesn't want to talk to us right now. He's just too polite to say so.
Harry Potter.
Her strange ways are often off-putting to others, so she lives a mostly isolated existence, something Harry can greatly relate to. But the one thing that truly sets Luna apart is that she has completely unshakable faith. Yes, even in the wizarding world there are skeptics, but not Luna. She believes in her weird dad, she believes in imaginary creatures that nobody else can see, and she believes in Harry. And sometimes a little bit of faith goes a long way. Luna is such a unique character that I was terrified that this was the one bit of casting that they were going to fuck up. But unlike some casting decisions, where they just picked the next available warm body, they actually auditioned hundreds of girls before they found Evanna Lynch. And quite frankly, they couldn't have picked anyone better.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Sir, I like her very much.
Another bit of perfect casting is Helena Bonham Carter as Voldemort's main henchgirl, Bellatrix Lestrange. Not since Juliet Landau as Drusilla have I found myself to be equally as aroused as I was frightened. Holy hell. I love that woman, but for the love of Christ, keep her away from me.
Are you mad?
In his 5th year, Harry has to contend with Voldemort being on the loose, and the Ministry of Magic trying to disprove his return. In spite of this, the Order of the Phoenix is assembled to battle Voldemort if he has truly returned. In the past 4 years at Hogwarts, the school has failed the students at actually teaching them how to defend themselves against the dark arts, providing them with one incompetent instructor after the other, except for Lupin, but he quit. So Harry takes it upon himself to teach his fellow students how to defend themselves, now that war with Voldemort is imminent. The one and only scene that I don't like in this movie is when the Order of the Phoenix battles Voldemort's Death Eaters. The whole movie builds up to this moment, and it goes by so quickly that it's hard to enjoy it. However, the film makes it up to you in spades, as right after that you get the ultimate wizard's duel between Voldemort and Dumbledore. Holy shit. I don't think I need to say anything else, because this speaks for itself.
Harry Potter. And you will lose.
Year 6, the Half-Blood Prince.
This one is based on my least favorite of the books, as the book is nothing more than an elaborate setup for the final chapter in the series. This is one occasion where I definitely feel that the film is better than the book, as the film is more entertaining and to the point. All the while, the book doesn't quite flow as well as the other books in the series. It rambles a lot and it gives you a shitload of information that quite frankly, you didn't really need to enjoy the story. In his 5th year, Harry and Dumbledore team up to investigate Voldemort's past and uncover what exactly Voldemort did to avoid death as easily as he has for the past few years, and to uncover how exactly Harry is supposed to kill him. Also, Harry is being aided in his classes by a mysterious benefactor called the Half-Blood Prince, who ends up being far more important to the story than the plot initially lets on.
Harry, I assume right about now you must be wondering why I brought you here. Am I right?
Actually, sir, after all these years, I'll just sort of go with it.
Alright, the day of destiny looms near as we move on to the final chapter.
Year 7, the Deathly Hallows.
The initial cut of this film was over 5 hours long. Instead of chopping it to pieces and giving us the abridged version, Warner Brothers agreed to split it into 2 films, and thank God they did, because there was no way they were going to cram so much epicness into one movie. In his 7th and final year, thanks to Dumbledore, Harry discovers why Voldemort is seemingly immortal, as he split his soul into 7 halves, and put the 7 pieces of his soul into 7 different items and creatures called Horcruxes. And he can only die when all the Horcruxes are destroyed. Unknowingly, Harry already destroyed 2 of them during his first 2 years at Hogwarts, and Dumbledore destroyed the 3rd one. So that leaves 4 Horcruxes to find and destroy. And the 3 most powerful items in the wizarding world, the Deathly Hallows, might play a significant role in completing this mission. Thus, Harry, Ron, and Hermione go on their final adventure, to hunt the Horcruxes, find a way to destroy them, and face Voldemort and his army for the last time. For a whole decade did we wait for this moment, the moment where Harry would stop brushing off his destiny and accept his role as the Chosen One. After a whole decade of Voldemort governing with fear, having the upper hand, and believing himself to be Harry's better, he finally stands on even ground with the boy who lived. It is not often in a fanboy's life that the things that we love meet our expectations, but this grand finale was one of those exceptional occasions. Cause this was so big, so awesome, so excellent, so eclectic and epic that it defies description. You'll just have to see it for yourself.
What if its allegiance was always to someone else? Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started it. Together!
Final verdict.
I'm proud to say that I watched every single Harry Potter film in the theaters, and that it was terrific to spend those 10 years watching these stories progress, the books come to life, and these great young actors evolve as performers and characters. 10 points on the badassitude meter! Learn your spells, draw your wand, and give them a watch. Mischief managed. Join the Legion, suckers!
I don't give a damn what your father thinks, Malfoy. He's vile and cruel, and you're just pathetic. Pathetic.
Oh no, you don't, Sonny! I teach you to curse someone when their back is turned. You stinking, cowardly, scummy,
Professor Moody!
shooting,
What are you doing?
teaching.
Is that a student?
Technically, it's a ferret.
Ha ha!